Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my new video where we are going to be covering some of the more difficult matchups for Swain, what to look out for if you have some backup champions and you're not just a Swain one trick, when you should be shying away from Swain. Now, absolute nightmare scenario is definitely Anivia, not only because of the win rate, but just how the champion just operates against you, controlling that mid-range distance extremely easily, and is going to out damage you in a damage per second type way with her ultimate and her really low cooldown on her E. You can cancel her ultimate if you land an E, but it is a pretty short cooldown now. So essentially, as you can see here, the tougher matchups are going to be those mages down in the bot lane. Anivia support is going to be a bit of a struggle. Brand, Veigar, Lux, these kind of champions can really give you a tough time. I would definitely recommend that you get used to playing against enchanters. You don't really have a super high win rate on average against them, but they are definitely doable in those lanes. So always look out for those Brand, Xerath, Lux lanes can be pretty difficult. I do have a couple videos that are particularly about how to deal with poke champions. They're my first couple videos on the channel because that's where a lot of people were struggling. So keep that in mind if you struggle and you'd like to pick Swain into those kind of champions. If you're some sort of masochist, I'd recommend that you check out those videos as well. So the really strong champions to pick Swain into are ones that are really susceptible to pick and overextending. Things like Pantheon's are going to overextend. Things like Rakan are going to overextend. Things like Fiddlesticks. These champions that are really susceptible to pick and overextension are where Swain is really going to thrive, and you can heavily punish people in those particular situations. I think the only reason why Swain's win rate against Vel'Koz is pretty high is just in general because of the low amount of play rate, only at 244, and usually Vel'Koz players aren't really too practiced in the champion. I haven't really experienced too many people with that. It's usually maybe someone getting auto-filled or just someone that got Lux banned, and okay, well, the next closest thing is Vel'Koz. So take that with a grain of salt. Vel'Koz is going to be a tough lane. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about is the champions that have a lot of CC to lock you up. Particularly Lulu can be a really tough lane for Swain because there's no worse feeling than getting the W from the Lulu polymorphing you when you are in your ultimate and you're unable to really punish people during that huge power window that you are going to have. Now, some other counters that you're going to experience here, let's go up to right here. It's the bottom. Okay, so this is for ADC Swain. Let's go over to the counters in the ADC Swain. It is going to be no surprise to anyone that the most common ADC that is going to give you a lot of trouble is Caitlyn. She is an absolute monster against Swain. I usually ban Swain. I don't know what these ads are. Legos. I don't do Legos or ever have frozen meals, but yeah, whatever. So Caitlyn punishes you really heavily when you use Zhonya's, and she just traps you. Essentially makes your Zhonya's pretty useless if she is able to get some of those traps under you. Aphelios, Jinx, Kai'Sa, Samira. So these champions, these are premier S tier champions right now, except the Kai'Sa maybe, that can really just destroy you. The Jinx, Aphelios, Caitlyn can really punish you quite heavily. And then the champions that you are going to do well into are some of the medium range champions. This is where Swain ADC can really punish enemy champions. So keep this in mind when you're playing Swain. I think that he can be a great pick in either of those roles, but you should definitely have a backup if you get absolutely countered. If it's something like a Xerath, Caitlyn, you really do not want to play Swain into that unless you are just super practiced with Swain and you've played that matchup a bunch. If you guys have any questions about matchups, I'd love to talk to you about them. I'd love to help you out with them. Maybe different rune setups, maybe different summoner spells, and different item setups and different rushes are really needed in some of these more difficult matchups. For example, a Resolve secondary and a rush into Zhonya's might help you into something like maybe a Draven lane, or a lane that's going to bring a whole ton of AD damage, like maybe something like a Pyke and a Caitlyn could be a viable option. So that's going to wrap up my video, guys. If you want to see any more kind of guide videos for Swain, I'd recommend you check out my playlist. I have a lot of kind of shorter format theory videos about Swain, as well as I had a playlist just kind of the practice of everything in the gameplay. So with all that out of the way, guys, take it easy.